Well, we thought we might end up talking to Mark Alford early part of this week, but we figured it would be about the nonsense around who's going to be the Speaker of the House. Obviously, there is much more pressing news right now. You've got, and now the breaking news here from Fox News this hour, number has ticked up from 8 to at least 9 Americans among those killed in Israel after nearly 1,000 were murdered over the weekend in the attacks by the terrorist group Hamas. Mark Alford, our Missouri congressman, is joining us on KCMO Talk Radio. He is also on the House Armed Services Committee. He does, of course, a great job for Missouri's 4th Congressional District. He also hosts Mark Alford's America, which airs on Saturday afternoons and Sunday mornings here on KCMO. Mark, thanks for being here. What's the weekend been like for you, dealing with all this and trying to get as much information as you can with the Armed Services Committee?
Well, thank you, Pete. I wish I had more complete and better news, but unfortunately, our leadership sent us home last Tuesday. I've been doing some things around the district. In fact, right now I'm driving to our office in Raymore for Mondays with Mark from 8:30 to 10. If anyone wants to come see me, come on out. But we've had little word from anyone on the Armed Services Committee, much less the leadership in our conference. We're headed back today at 12:05. We'll get to D.C., and then we have a meeting tonight, and then a forum tomorrow, and then vote on a speaker Wednesday. But I do want to say this, Pete. I am saddened. I am sickened. And you were right to call the Hamas terrorists. They are not militants. They are thugs. They are savages, and they need to be eradicated.
On that note, Congressman, I mean, I said this just before the top of the hour. How many jihadist terrorists are in the United States right now? I mean, obviously there's no answer to that, but with the border policies of the last 2.5 years, I don't feel good about the people who are in this country right now, who might be in this country that we don't know about, based on the policies that this administration has not only, allowed to happen, but in many ways effectively promoted.
Exactly, Pete. They have encouraged this. You remember before Joe Biden even took the oath of office, he was welcoming people to come illegally into the United States. And so far, 7 million that we know of have come to the United States illegally. Just recently, many more were caught that were on the terrorist watch list. And these are people not just from Mexico or Central America. These are people from Yemen, Qatar, other places that want to see us annihilated as a nation. And so I don't know if there are necessarily sleeper cells that are waiting for instructions from jihadist movements, but I am concerned that there are all over the United States Islamic terrorists who want to see America, whom they consider the great Satan, they want to see done harm. I was talking with someone from the American-Israeli PAC last night, and that is one of their biggest fears here. They know that Israel has been a target for the terrorist groups, the Islamic terrorist groups, for some time, but they're still not considered the great Satan. America is the great Satan, and they want to bring us down, and it's a scary proposition.
It is. Mark Alford, Missouri's 4th Congressional District, of course, joining us here on KCMO Talk Radio. So how has not having a Speaker of the House impacted the weekend and the early part of this week in terms of gathering information, or is that somewhat overblown?
No, it's not at all. Normally, our Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, would have had a briefing with the President and the Big Eight, Chuck Schumer, the leaders of the Senate, the House, intelligence personnel, the President, the Vice President. They would get the same briefing. We do not have a Speaker, and the Speaker pro tem is a great guy, Patrick McHenry, but it's a caretaker position right now. We don't even know the constitutional authority clearly defined for the Speaker pro tem position. And so out of politics, I think Joe Biden and his administration decided to skip over our Speaker pro tem and go to Hakeem Jeffries for that intelligence briefing, that all-important briefing. And now he wants to give us a sub-briefing on that, which, we need the information. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to play politics, but I think it's despicable the position that we've gotten into with the chaos caucus, as I call them, running Kevin McCarthy out, and now we're a ship without a rudder.
So do you think that this will expedite the vote to have a new speaker, or is that timeline still going to be whenever it was going to be this week?
Unfortunately, the timeline is set. I was pushing on Thursday and Friday before this invasion even happened to our leadership and our freshman class for that point as well. We were very strong in our comments towards leadership, our chair of our conference, and Patrick McHenry. Let's get back to Washington. Why are we here? Why are we here watching Chiefs football when we should be back in D.C. helping decide the fate of the nation? And I am disappointed that they had us leave to begin with. And I'm not a behind the scenes inside person in the conference right now. So I don't know all the I don't know all the complete details of why that decision was made, but I feel like we never should have left Washington. Let's get our job done. Let's get our homework done before we go home to play.
What do you make thus far, Mark Alford? I mean, we've seen some of this. Secretary Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, had a deleted Twitter post where he called on Israel to not respond to the Hamas killing of nearly 1,000 of their people. What do you make of what we've seen thus far from the administration, which really has not had a full force response in what seems like doing and supporting Israel in the right way thus far?
Well, I think it's part of the discussing politics that the Democrats have promulgated on the American people for these many years. You look at members of Congress, Shalib and the squad, they are trying to justify and somehow put on the moral equivalency the Hamas terrorist organization, deemed so by the United States as a terrorist organization, along with Hezbollah. They're trying to somehow equivocate their cause with the Israelis defending themselves when they're being butchered in the streets. For the administration to come out and somehow to cast some sort of moral equivalency there, and for people to call for peace and understanding, I'm tired of pussyfooting around with these people. It is time to eradicate the Islamic terrorists in that region so that Israel will have the peace, prosperity that it has long deserved.
And last thing, Mark Alford, I know the $6 billion of unfrozen Iranian funds has also been a big topic over the last 24 to 36 hours. And you have an administration insisting that that's not why this happened. Let me just play this for you and get your response to it. This is John Feiner on Fox News Sunday. He is with the Biden administration. He said this about the $6 billion.
Look, we've been quite clear that we just have a fundamentally different view of this situation and that we believe those criticisms are not well-founded and frankly inaccurate. Any implication that money that has not yet been spent, not a single dollar of that money has yet been spent, it had any role in the attacks that took place, in planning them, in equipping the parties that conducted them, just frankly doesn't make any sense. And as we've been clear, that money can only be spent on humanitarian items, on food, on agricultural products, on medicine, that sort of thing. We're going to be watching that very closely as well.
John Feiner, Deputy National Security Advisor for the Biden administration. Mark Alford, how do you respond to him?
I call BS, Pete. That is crazy to talk like that. It's just like if Planned Parenthood, the argument over not giving them government money for abortions. So they are funded in other ways to pay the light bills, but because they don't have to pay the light bills and operational costs, they can take that money in to pay for abortions. These are fungible assets, and if you were planning on getting a big tax return next year, you might use other money to make purchases in anticipation of that tax return coming into your coffers eventually. We know that Iran has been funding terrorism for many years. They are very close to building a nuclear weapon to take out Israel. Why on earth this president thinks it's a good idea to prop them up with this $6 billion off of sales of oil that have been frozen in an account. Why in the world at this time in our world's history would you free $6 billion up for whatever it's going to be used for to fund one of the greatest terrorist states, the worst terrorist states known to man?
Mark Alford, Missouri's 4th Congressional District. He's also on the House Armed Services Committee. He's got a busy week ahead, and we appreciate him being here on KCMO. And remind us, Mark, where you're going to be this morning?
I am at 1272 West Foxwood Drive, next to Mojitos. It's our congressional office for the 4th Congressional District in Raymore, Missouri. I'll be here till 10 o'clock. Would love for you to come by and hear what's on your heart, mind, and soul.
All right, Mark. Keep up the good work. We appreciate you hopping on.
Thank you.
All right. That is Mark Alford on KCMO. He'll be there next to Mojitos at his congressional office till 10 o'clock this morning down there in Raymore. So well done by him. Always appreciate him coming on KCMO Talk Radio.